Welcome to creating interactive storybooks, comics, quizzes, and games with Google Slides. Hello, I'm Rashmi Pimprakar. I am the District Pre-K 12 Digital Learning Library and Computer Science Coordinator for Watertown Public Schools. I also direct a nonprofit called C-STEAM Futures, and I serve as Program Director for CS and STEAM at Lesley University. Today's agenda is we'll be talking a bit about interactive slideshows. Examples will include online quizzes, maybe a science comic example, Math Jeopardy game, storybook examples, build your own story examples. We'll also look at building your own, say, interactive quiz. And then at the end, I'm also looking forward to sharing some interdisciplinary project exemplars, how teachers have used Google Slides interactively in their classrooms. So let's talk a little bit about slideshows in general. Usually slideshows are designed to display the slides in a more sequential order. So one slide, when you click next, you go to the next slide, and so on and so forth. Those are called linear slideshows, and they are usually used to present information, and you might find them in lecture presentations, sometimes in a webinar presentation or student book reports, sometimes even lab reports. What we are talking about today is an interactive slideshow, in which we will be using hyperlinks to connect to slides so people can view them in a non-sequential format. So for example, in a quiz or in a Jeopardy game, you would have your regular categories and the dollar amounts, and when you click on the dollar amount, the question would jump to that specific dollar amount question. So that could be a hyperlink, and we'll take a look at a few of these examples. So let's call these interactive slideshows as non-linear slideshows, and some examples of really good interactive slideshows are online quizzes, Jeopardy games, or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire content game, or even choose your adventure stories. I particularly love those because you can build, you can write a story and you can build an animation around it, and that can be very seamlessly built using Google Slides. We will also try to look at how to make your own interactive slideshow by taking one of these exemplars. And then again, we'll be looking at a few of the templates so that you don't have to do all the legwork. You can use some of the templates that I've created, and you can go ahead and modify them, augment, adjust according to your needs. So let's look at the first example, which is that of an online quiz. And I'm going to click on the link, which allows me to go to the interactive quiz, which looks like this. So let's go to the presenter option. And in this case, it's a very basic interactive quiz example, which will allow us to sort of go and begin a quiz. So let's see. For question 1, it's a simple question which says, what is the square root of 9? And there are 4 probable answers, and as you can see, they are hyperlinked. So first one is 18, 3, 4.5, and 81. Now I know that the square root of 9 is 3, but I'm going to choose answer 18 just to see how this slide jumps to the next one, which will have an incorrect answer. So when I click on that, which was answer 1, question 1, answer A, it says, sorry, that is incorrect. Remember, the square root of a number is a value when multiplied by itself gives the number. 18 is 2 times 9, not the square root of 9. So that is a little bit of an explanation that I can provide the student, and then I can click on the option where it says, click here to go back to and try again. So I'm back again onto the question, and this time around I'm going to choose 4.5. And again, it's question 1, answer C. Notice the labeling is also very consistent to my answer choices. Again, I get the same message, sorry, this is incorrect. Remember, the square root of a number is a value that when multiplied by itself gives the number, and then there is a little bit more explanation and an opportunity for me to go back to the question again. This time I'm going to choose the right answer, and then you can notice that there is a color change. Yes, this is correct, and the square root of the number is the value that when multiplied by itself gives the number, and then it gives me the option of going to the next question. So let's click on that, and then we get to a different type of question where you have some text and you also have an image. And the question is, what types of rock forms when magma cools and hardens? Now I can choose one of these answers, and I am going to choose answer A. And it says, sorry, this is incorrect. Remember, sedimentary rocks are formed when particles of sand, shells, pebbles, and other fragments of materials. Click here to go back and try again. And this time I'm going to choose igneous. So this allows me to choose the right answer. Igneous rocks are formed when magma cools and hardens. And it also lets me to go on to the next question. Now in this question, I have country highlighted in the map, right? So when I choose, and I know just from my knowledge, this is France, so I'm going to choose on Germany, and it will highlight Germany. This is the map that shows Germany highlighted. Click here and go back again, and then when I choose France, it's going to say yes, that is correct, and the map shows France highlighted. And you can see that the image and the coloring of the image is something that we have inserted into the answers, and you can pretty much go on to the end of the presentation, and it will allow you to end the quiz like this. So this is a nice little way of doing some formative assessment with images embedded and text and answers and an interactivity already built into the slide deck. Let's go to another option, which is the Jeopardy game. We've all played the Jeopardy game many times. So I'm going to go into the presenter view. This is a template of the Jeopardy game with math terms. So just like our Jeopardy game, this has a board. You have the final Jeopardy, and then you have your 5 topics of angles, polygons, graphing, measurement, funny math, and then you have your dollar value, which allows you to choose the questions that are connected to these dollar values. Again, remember, all of these are hyperlinks. So when I hover over it, you can see that my pointer points to these hyperlink icons, and the final Jeopardy is also a hyperlink. So let's click on the first question, which is topic 1, $100 question, an angle that measures exactly 90 degrees. So I want my Jeopardy question to be, what is a right angle? And then let's see, what is a right angle? That's a question, and I can go back to my home and I can choose any other question. Now, unlike other Jeopardies, I would have loved it if this could turn a different color because I've already chosen that question. But Google Slides for now has not allowed that. You can build that in, but right now this template doesn't have that option. So there has to be a way in which you sort of make sure that the angles question 1 is checked off or things like that, so that you know which questions were already tried and tested. Let's try another one. Let's say funny math, $400. To be in favor of farm machinery. This is a math Jeopardy, and favor of farm machinery. So tractor is a farm machinery, and favor, the other word would be pro. So let's say protractor. Ding, ding, ding. And that is the right answer. So what is a protractor? So on and so forth. And you can see that there are so many different questions that have been built in. And as a template, you will have access to the 5-question Jeopardy template or a 6-question Jeopardy template, which I will give you access to, so you can modify it and make it a specific content-specific Jeopardy game for your students, which can focus either on vocabulary, content-specific knowledge, or it could be a math Jeopardy game just like the one we played. Now, the third one, which is personally my favorite, is choose your own adventure stories. So in here, I have one which is called Dragon Quest, and this is from a dear friend of mine. His name is Eric, and he built this slide deck based on the stories that his middle school students wrote. Three of the boys from, I believe, seventh grade wrote this story. So some of the wordings you will see that they are age appropriate, grade appropriate, and it's literally the teacher has built this whole slide deck using their story. So let's click to begin. And this is we begin the story. It gives you a background, and then you can continue reading the story. And then there is a beautiful map that they have created. And as you can see, the map is you have a hyperlinked map which allows you to go to different places and learn about this island and the great mountains, the great sea, and you can do that or you can continue. And then so far it has been a linear slideshow, but right now what we are trying to do, we are at a place where we can actually choose where we want to go with our stories. So either we want to go to the peddlers for supplies or we want to continue on without supplies. So in this case, I'm going to make a wise choice and I'm going to go to the peddlers for supplies. And that takes me to a different option. And in this case, I read the story, spell book, some arrows, and then it asks me for another option in the story. It asks me whether I want to take a right path or I want to take a left path. So I'm going to take a right path, and that brings me to another junction where I'm asked to again make a choice out of the two given choices. So either I go through the underbrush or I walk back and take the left path. So I'm going to go through the underbrush and then I'm continuing on the new path. And then, as the story is being written by three boys in the middle school, death might be one of the options that they might put in the end of the story. So you have to keep making wise choices so that you can avoid some of the pitfalls in the story. But right now, I'm going to intentionally make a bad decision, and I'm going to, instead of arming myself with a sword or with a bow, I'm going to run. And then when I run, I eventually die because of some of the story, and then I can go back at the beginning of my story to try again. So I can do that, and it takes me back to my story. This exercise allows for students to write their stories, to create their stories, but it also allows for creative integration of that and interactivity built into the slides. So that's an example that I look forward to sharing with you, and you can modify any and all of these resources as you need. Now we are going to try to make our own slide deck. So let's go to the way to access Google Slides is either I'm going to give you some of the templates that I've talked about, but right now we are going to pretty much create that interactive quiz using from scratch using Google Slides. So to get to Google Slides, you can go to this nice little waffle icon, which is on the right hand side, and you can go and choose Slides, or you can go to New and you can create Google Slides. When you open up Google Slides, it's going to give you a very basic option, as you know, and you can choose different themes. I'm going to stick to a very basic theme, and I'm going to close that. So this is our first interactive quiz. So in this, I'm going to say interactive math quiz. Okay, so see, and then we are going to add a slide. In this case, you can add different types of slides, and by clicking on that small arrow, you can choose any of these slides. but I'm going to choose the one which says title and body. So I'm going to go to this, and my question is going to be, so let's say, mm, this is question 1, and the question is, let's do the one that we just looked at. What is the square root of 9? Okay. And in this case, I'm going to have option A, which is 21, option B, which is 3, option C, which is 18, and option D, which is 81. Okay, so I have my 4 options. Now, in order, I can even bring in an image out here to enhance the look and feel of my question, just like the map image or the one that we saw about um, the second question, which was about the igneous rock. So in order to do that, you can pretty much do a right click and you can insert an image, or you can also go in here and you can say insert image, and you can upload from the computer, search from the web, or you can bring it from your drive photos or from your camera. So I'm going to search from the web and I'm going to say a calculator. It's always important to look for images that are copyright free. So we are going to, and there is openclipart.org, which is a very good site that you can choose to get free, copyright free images. And I usually like that quite a bit. And there, I will give you a list of sites where there are 18 sites where there are free images and audio that's included, and you can use that for educational purposes. They are copyright free. So right now what we did is we added a question, we have an image in here, and now we want to hyperlink this question. So let's go and create another slide, which would be this. And in this case, the naming of the question is very important, especially if you are creating an interactivity. So in this case, to keep our response short, or this process, because of the time crunch, I'm going to just create 2 slides where there is a correct answer and there is an incorrect answer. So I'm going to say that this is a correct answer. Yes, you are correct. Then I'm going to say 3 times 3 is 9. So the square root of 9 is 3. And then we also need to click to move to the next question. So this is another link that we will have to populate. So we are going to do that, and going to bring that down here. Wonderful. Now I want to also create a slide which has an incorrect answer. So I'm going to do that, and this is question 1. Answer incorrect. So incorrect answer, and I'm going to say sorry, but the answer you provided is incorrect. Three times 3 is, oh, we don't want to give them a hint, so I'm going to give them the definition, which was here. I'm going to just copy that here. Remember, the square root of a number is a value that when multiplied by itself gives the number. And then I'm going to add click here to go back to the question again and try again. And I'm going to take that formatting, make sure my formatting is the same. Okay, 38, and I'm going to do the same here. So I'm going to add that formatting. Perfect. So okay, so we got the question and we got our two answers. Now we want to make sure that our interactivity is built in into this question. So to do that, we're going to go back to our first question here, and we are going to choose. If you choose, say, question A, we know that the answer to this question is incorrect. So I'm just going to choose 21, and there is that icon which says insert link. So I click on that icon, and in this case, usually you use this to put in a link from the web. But if you click on this little arrow key here, you can see that there are many different slides that you can use. And for a presentation like Jeopardy, you might always want to choose first slide, so you go back to the first slide. But in this case, because we have labeled our question so well, we have exactly what we need. And because 21 is an incorrect answer, we are going to choose slide 4, and we are going to say apply. And for 3, we are going to choose same thing, but in this case, we're going to choose the slide which says correct answer. And now we have an interactivity built in into this. And lastly, we also want to make sure this one here will go to the next question, which we are not yet building, but we are just going to create a slide called question 2. And in here, we could choose this option right here to go to the next question, which is either the next slide, or you can choose question 2. Apply. And don't forget, if you get a wrong answer, this is go back to the question. So in this case, I'm going to go to this and I'm going to choose the slide which is actually question 1, because I want to go back to the question which is provided to me, and I'm going to say apply, and then in here I'm going to make sure that I go back to the next question, which in here is question 2. So I'm going to go to slide 5, question 2, apply. So now when I do a presentation, it's going to give me, so that's my interactive math quiz. And when I click on 21, it gives me that incorrect answer. Then I get to go back to the question. And then when I test on 3, it gives me the answer is correct. And I get to move on to the next question, which would be the question 2. So that's how you can build a very basic interactivity into your slideshow. So that's your template. I have a few templates for the Jeopardy game that I showed you, the online quiz game, and the adventure stories, which will be shared with you in a document which looks like this. And at the bottom, I will have links to all of the templates that I'm discussing here so that you can have access to it. So here are a few other examples of how Google Slides and interactivity built into the Google Slides have been used. So I personally love this example of Don't, which is, it's a storybook by Eric Curtis. And this is a beautiful illustration. You have some images and you have an original poem or um, story that he has built in. And this is a wonderful way of creating stories with your kids, um, and having images that respond to that story. So, this is a really great example. Second one I love, which is my pickup has hiccups, which is another
My
one
pickup
which is
has hiccups. It jiggles and it jerks. The gear stick is quite sick. It very rarely works. Its spark plugs have flue bugs. They cannot make a spark. The emergency brake has a headache. It will not stay in park.
so as you can see that in this particular storybook example, there is also audio weaved into the story. And in our advanced Google Slides presentation, which will be part two of this, we will also show you how to create the audio mixed with video and some of the components that are in the My Pickup Has Hiccups. However, this is a quick way of inserting audio, as you can see right here, and into your slide deck. Or you can also use Screencastify, which is another video recording software or an app which will allow you to record your video and insert it within your slide deck. One last one I wanted to show you was um, we looked at Winter Around the World, which is a beautiful collaboration which is done by multiple winter collaborative stories. And you can see the slide deck sort of includes many different from Iowa, from Florida, and it's sort of in a more global scale. And they have talked about how winter is in their neck of the woods, and it's a beautiful, beautiful collaboration piece with 30 or 40 students sort of integrating different components into this. So, this is a great example, and I will include this link into our resource guide as well. So, that's just a few storybook examples. I also wanted to show you one which is the science book comic, which looks like this. So it's a very simple comic that I played with, and it took me 10 minutes. All of these images are free, so you can see that it's a basic comic with some text, and then it also talks a little bit about osmosis, and then finally, you have something about osmosis that you can include. So it's a simple comic which sort of emphasizes the vocabulary that you're using. There's also stop motion animation in here that you can explore by clicking on the link. I also wanted to show you this beautiful interactive math story, which is, by Tiffany, and she talks about, if you can see, I'm going to open up the presenter menu, and then there is I spy with my little eye, the number one, and then the number two and the three, and so on and so forth. So you will get a copy of this one as well, and you can modify it. But this is a nice little way of engaging kids into the lesson that you have. There is also an example of an interactive notebook that I've included in this that you can take a look at. So this was a quick sort of example to demonstrate learning with Google Slides about annotating observations, annotating models, or annotating diagrams and graphs. And you can insert audio, you can insert text as well as images into an existing slide deck to sort of annotate as well as record your observations. Last but not the least, there is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire template that you can use. But this is also sort of an amazing example of early industry and inventions, which is right in here. And you can sort of take a look at this example, modify it as needed. It is for the high school um, from for the high school grade level. So you can take a look at it, some of the images as they have taken. Um, they write about it, and then there is a vote now component, which is again is an interactive hyperlink slide. There's also Washington's presidency, which is the chapter 9.1, and you can see there is a lot more information embedded within the slide deck, but there are many, many hyperlinks that they have looked at and they have connected. So this is a student example, and you can see that you have landmark constitutional cases and so on and so forth, which is a beautiful, beautiful example of how to do research and document it. Last but not the least, this is a quick example of a PDF ebook. This is a template that I'm sharing, and you can use that, modify it. If you want your students to do a page setup, or how to create a template or how to create an ebook and then export it, it can be a really nice way of submitting exemplars or projects that they are working on. So most of these resources are linked here. There's also a slide carnival templates that you can look at, few of the storybook templates, choose your adventure stories template. I also have a Google Slides 101 tutorial, just in case you want to get used to using Google Slides if you are new to it. There's also this creating interactive slideshow, where essentially the basics that we discussed here and the links to the quiz, our quiz and the Dragon Quest and the Jeopardy game with a 5 topic and a 6 topic template is already linked into this document. Um, Thank you so much. I look forward to answering all your questions. Please post your questions in the chat, and I hope to take a look at the questions and try to answer them. But all of these resources will be made available as soon as I can post this presentation. Again, this is my contact info. It is such a pleasure to be working with you. Thank you so much.